Have you noticed something strange? You can know exactly what you need to do and still not do it. You know eating junk food is making you feel worse. You know scrolling TikTok until 2 in the morning probably isn't helping. You know you should probably get out of bed when your alarm goes off. You know you should start that business or start that YouTube channel, whatever. So why don't you? I used to think the answer was simple, that I just wasn't disciplined enough or lacked motivation, or maybe I was just lazy. But after years of trying to change and failing, I realized that the problem was that I completely misunderstood what I was fighting against. I used to imagine change like this. I would wake up one morning, feel incredibly motivated and decide, this is it, I'm changing my life. Proceed to buy a new notebook, watch 5 productivity videos, write down 20 goals, delete Instagram, plan my entire week. Maybe even download another self-improvement book, because apparently the 15 I already had weren't enough. And for a couple of days, it actually felt like it was working. I thought I'd finally become the person I've wanted to be. Then a few days later, I slept through 1 alarm, skipped 1 workout, and missed 1 day of reading. And somehow, one of those tiny mistakes led me to say, I'll just start again next Monday. After a few years of the same few days or weeks repeating, I changed how I look at change. There's a psychologist named Albert Bandura. He spent decades studying something called self-efficacy. Now that sounds complicated, but it's actually very simple. Self-efficacy is simply your belief that you can successfully do something, whether that's learning a language, running a marathon, or sticking to a workout plan. Bandura found something fascinating. The biggest thing that influenced whether people believed they could do something wasn't motivation or encouragement. It was something he called mastery experiences. And that's just a fancy way of saying successfully doing something yourself. Every time you successfully follow through on something, your brain updates its expectations. It starts to think, maybe I can actually do this. Now, he wasn't talking about changing your life, he was talking about completing tasks. But I think the same principle actually explains a lot. Every action you take is teaching your brain who you are. Think back to when you learned to ride a bike. The first time you got on, your brain had absolutely no reason to believe you'll stay balanced. But after enough successful attempts, your thinking changed. Instead of thinking, I hope I don't fall, your brain starts expecting balance. It wasn't magical, the evidence just changed. Now apply that to everything else. Your brain isn't asking you what do you want, it's thinking what usually happens in this scenario. There's another idea in neuroscience that I find interesting. Many researchers describe the brain as something called a prediction machine. Instead of blindly reacting to the world every single second from scratch, your brain is constantly making predictions based on your past experiences. It's one of the reasons you can drive home and barely remember the journey, or instinctively catch something when it falls. Your brain is constantly thinking, what happened last time? Because predicting the future using the past is efficient. Now imagine what happens when you've spent years telling yourself, I'm gonna wake up early, or I'm gonna go to the gym, and most of those promises just disappear. Do you think your brain forgets, or do you think you use that data to make predictions about you and your future promises? This is also why I think most people misunderstand confidence. Confidence isn't just some feeling you wake up with. People often say, just fake it till you make it. But isn't that literally this exact principle? You have to give your brain enough evidence for it to believe you, and eventually, it starts expecting you to be confident in different scenarios. The same thing happens in reverse. If every attempt at changing your life has ended the same way, your brain isn't trying to be an obstacle stopping you from being able to change. It's just being realistic based on the information that it has. It's thinking, based on everything I've seen, this probably isn't going to last. And can you blame it? If your best friend promised you something every single week and then broke that promise 90% of the time, you would probably stop believing them too. I think the relationship we have with ourselves works exactly the same way. And that's why change feels so difficult, not because you're fighting laziness or haven't found that perfect morning routine, but because you're trying to convince your brain that you're about to become someone it's never even met, and you haven't given it a reason to believe you. Think about it. Imagine I asked you to walk into your kitchen. Easy, of course. You know exactly where everything is. You don't think about where the fridge is. You don't think about how many steps it'll take. You've done it hundreds of times. Now imagine I blindfolded you. Same kitchen, nothing has changed except one thing. Now everything feels difficult. Every step is slower, every movement is cautious because your brain doesn't know what's coming next. And I think that's exactly what happens every time you try to change your life. When you've spent years waking up at 9, your brain knows what tomorrow looks like. When you've spent months scrolling before bed, your brain knows what's coming. When you've spent years saying, I'll start Monday, instead of change, your brain starts expecting Monday. Then one day, you decide you're becoming a completely different person overnight. Wake up at 5, cold showers, gym, no social media, the whole playbook. And your brain is basically sitting there like, where the hell did all this come from? Because yesterday, none of this existed. This is where most people lose the battle before they've even started, because they're trying to replace an entire identity in one weekend. And what's funny is the internet tells you this is exactly what you're supposed to do. Every January you see those transformation videos, completely changed my life in 30 days, or my 5 a.m. morning routine, or how I became disciplined. And it's always shown as this massive transformation, like they woke up one day and suddenly became a different person. But real life doesn't look like that. It's waking up when you don't feel like it, doing the boring thing again and again. There's a researcher named Wendy Wood who spent years studying habits. One of the things her work has consistently shown is that a huge amount of our daily behavior isn't the result of conscious decision making every moment. It's automatic. Like, you don't stand there debating whether you should brush your teeth every night. You just do it because your brain has turned it into something automatic. Which is useful, because imagine having to consciously think about every single tiny decision every day. You'd be exhausted before you even had breakfast. Automation is one of your brain's greatest strengths, but it's also why changing old behaviors feels so hard and frustrating. Because you're not just making a different decision that day, you're interrupting a pattern that's been running automatically for years. Now here's where I think self-improvement content accidentally makes everything worse. And yeah, I know, this is kind of a self-improvement video too. Consuming self-improvement feels almost identical to improving yourself. Those videos give the same excitement, but excitement isn't change. Action is. More importantly, repeated action is. There's something psychologists call delay discounting. The name sounds unfamiliar, but you've experienced it 1,000 times. Imagine I give you a choice, $10 right now or $15 next week. A surprising amount of people choose the $10 because it's immediate. Our brain naturally tends to place more value on rewards that arrive now than rewards that arrive later. Now think about what social media gives you. Immediate entertainment, immediate distraction. Now compare that with going to the gym or building a business. Those rewards might take months, or in some cases even years. So every single day your brain is making a trade, either a small reward now or a much bigger reward later, and you already know which one usually wins. And this is why I don't think that discipline is the opposite of laziness. I think discipline is learning how to consistently choose a reward that you can't see yet, which is really hard. So what should you do with all this information? Honestly, first just try and understand that your brain isn't your enemy unless you try and fight against it. It's not trying to keep you miserable, it's just doing what you've trained it to do for so many years. So stop trying to completely change your life in a single day. Start by asking, what's one piece of evidence I can give my brain today? Maybe it's something as simple as making your bed or reading a book for 20 minutes. Every decision is another vote for the person you're becoming. The same way your brain learned all your harmful habits, it can learn all the good ones too. So if there's one thing I hope you take away from this video, it's this. Stop trying to convince yourself you've changed. Start giving yourself evidence that you have. Because your brain doesn't care about your intentions, it cares about your experiences. So here's one thing I'd love for you to do. When this video ends, don't watch another self-improvement video. Just close YouTube, go do one thing that your future self would thank you for. Then do it again tomorrow. And if you get stuck and don't know what to do, then come back. That is a moment where books and videos might be able to help you. I don't want this channel to become another place where you spend hours consuming self-improvement content. I want it to become the place you visit when you've gone out and actually tried, failed, or learned something, and need help taking the next step. I'll see you in the next one.